Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to review this Dell XPS 8930 gaming desktop and its performance in 2021. But before that, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down below, and thank you for watching. Now before I go on with this video, I'd like to ask everyone for a small favor. Please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button down below. It really helps to grow the channel and I really appreciate it. So without further ado, let me get into this review, so stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to go over are the components that came with this specific Dell XPS 8930 gaming desktop, followed by its upgrade capabilities, and hopefully that answer all your questions, plus a little bonus, and finally some gaming test benchmarks. I'm sure by now you're well aware that this Dell XPS comes in many different configurations, so this video should cover you both on 8th and 9th Intel generation XPS models. Now this one comes with a i7-8700 non-K processor, 6-core 12-thread, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM running at 2666 MHz in dual channel, 2 sticks of 8. Also 512 gigabyte M.2 SSD drive, and the big prize, here it is, the MSI GTX 1650. Really not the best card for this configuration. You could definitely go up higher, but that's what I have here to review, as well as a 460 watt power supply that does have an additional power connection for your GPU. If you want to upgrade, it has a 6 and an 8 pin, but it's running only on one wire, so you don't have that extra power. Yeah, the size is pretty decent for 460 watt. You could definitely upgrade, at least from this graphics card. And also, what do we got here? Yeah, it has built-in Wi-Fi, 5G Wi-Fi, as well as Bluetooth. It has a, one of those thin DVD drives, pretty good feature. What else? The cooling is somewhat decent. Not the best airflow. That CPU cooler right there is, it's just your standard one that they throw in on OEM desktops. This computer does get a bit hot when it playing for a little while, and also some of the demanding graphical games, yeah, it gets pretty hot and you hear the fans kick in right away. But overall, I'm happy with this desktop and I definitely recommend it, only if you get it at a good price. Now that's going to be a bit tough now because of the GPU price gouging, which is incredibly insane, where this particular 1650 is going for like $300-400 used, which is insane. It's just throwing your money away because, in my opinion, this is really not a great card, to spend that kind of money on. But if you get this overall for a good price, I'd say about $500 or $600 on a used market, then it's definitely a good deal. Now, as far as upgrading, yes, there's a lot of potential here, and that's what I'm going to go over, and then a little bonus thereafter. So yes, you could upgrade your graphics card. You're working with 460 watt power supply with a separate connection for the GPU. Well, that's good. So I would say on NVIDIA side, safely, you could go up to like an RTX 2060 or 3060. That'd be just enough. And on the AMD side, we could go up to like maybe XT 5600 XT, or maybe even 5600, 5700 non-XT. Really depends, but I say 5600 XT will be your safest bet if you go with the AMD side. So yeah, there is capabilities when upgrading to the graphics card, but you could really go all the way and change this power supply. That's right. This has been confirmed that this power supply is fully replaceable for any aftermarket. And that's something that you could always notice simply by looking at the motherboard. We have a 24-pin motherboard connection and the additional 4-pin going on the left side to the motherboard. And that's how you know you could definitely change out this power supply, as it's just a standard power supply You know, only other thing you're using are some SATA connections, and of course you have the one additional connection for the GPU. So yes, you could go up any power supply you want, 750, 800, 1000, whatever, you know, fits nice in this case. A modular will be, of course, semi-modular would be nice, so you don't have to have all those wires, because there isn't that much room in there. But yes, you could go ahead and upgrade that, and that'll give you a big boost on your GPU. Then there's really no limit. You could upgrade the RAM, of course. Right now we're at 16. Now this motherboard goes all the way up to 64. You could have 4 sticks of 16, but if you have already 2 8s, then you go for 2 more 8s and you got 32. I think that would be the best way to save money. Then when it comes to storage, behind the power supply, there is room there for a 3.5-inch hard drive, just a regular SATA. That's going to be your really cheapest upgrade there. 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte, 4 terabyte, whatever it might be. Those are pretty cheap. And then on the bottom, you could also add a couple of 2.5-inch either SSDs or just regular laptop size hard drives if you want to save money on storage that way also. The CPU cooler could possibly be changed to something a little bit better, as long as the aftermarket CPU cooler has the same kind of connections. You see the 4 screws in each corner there. There are some aftermarket ones, like I think a thermal take I've seen, that's a little bit better and get a little bit better cooling than that. But other than that, this is really good computer in my opinion. It does get a little hot, like I said, when it comes to some of the more intense gaming. You'll hear the fans kick up pretty loud. So it's really depends on what you're doing with the computer. What else? Yeah, so that pretty much covers overall the upgrades. Now the bonus part that I wanted to mention here is, yes, this desktop here fully qualifies for a full gaming case transfer. Now stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. Shortly after, hopefully, I will be able to transplant this motherboard into a full gaming case for that better look, better airflow, to give that little razzle dazzle. So yes, I believe that this motherboard is compatible with an aftermarket gaming case, and I think that could be a really good look. And of course, we could change the cooling with that too, get more fans, a much better CPU cooler, like a tower one or something. And yeah, so that wraps it up for that part. All there is left is some gaming test benchmarks and some performance benchmarks. So without further ado, let's get right to it. For the first benchmark here, I have CPU Z. As you could see, this is the Intel Core i7-8700 non-K version with a TDP of 65 watt and 6 core 12 thread. Now let's give it a little benchmark in here. Now I'm going to compare this to a similar processor which has 6 core and 12 thread that came out around the same time, this old Ryzen 5 1600, and you could see this i7 clearly blows it out in all the benchmarks here on the single core and on the multi-thread here. That's to be expected, as back when this 8700, even though it's non-K, this was really big for Intel, and at that time there was really nothing better for gaming. Now benching it against a newer AMD processor that's on the list. Now this list doesn't have many of the newer processors, unfortunately, but just going up to this one here, Ryzen 7 3700X, which does have more cores and more threads. And yes, of course, it'll beat the Intel in the multi-thread as it has quite a bit more threads. But in a single core, even this old i7-8700, according to this, still beats it out by about 3%. So definitely this processor still holds its own in 2021. And yeah, I definitely recommend this thing here still, even though it's now pushing over 3 years. So now let's jump into the next benchmark. And now I have Cinebench R15 scores. So as you could see, on the single core we have a score of 193. That's a very respectable score, and it's right on par. I'm going to compare this processor scores to a Ryzen 5 3600. These numbers are just identical when it comes to the single core, give or take a point. And when it comes to the multi-thread, I have 1329 for the score, and that is noticeably a lot less than the Ryzen 5 3600, which is about 200 and change higher score on the multi-thread. And I'm sure you're well aware by now that the newer Ryzen chips just simply crush the multi-core benchmarks. So yeah, so this is a pretty good score overall. You'll get a lot of good performance here on multitask as well as gaming. So all there is left to do is show you some gaming benchmarks. So stay tuned for that. So the first game I'm going to test out is Horizon. Let's take a look at the settings. As you can see, I'm on 1080p, full screen, VSync off, on medium preset with motion blur off. Now all the games I'm going to test out in the video are 1080p. This card at best is 1080p. Any high resolution, just forget about it. And you're still not going to be able to max out games on 1080p with this thing. As this card, the GTX 1650, is more closer to the more of a low-end card. Now, I have the medium settings that seem to be the best for this game. Now also I have the card overclocked by 100 megs on the core and 300 megs on the memory clock. This kind of overclock you could expect on any of the modern cards out today without messing around with your voltage. This should work off the bat without any issues, and that's pretty much some free performance out the door for any modern cards. Going back as far as maybe when it comes to NVIDIA to like 900 or 700 series cards. So medium seems to be the best setting for this game. If you go on the lowest settings, you only gain a few more FPS, and you're still not hitting that 60 FPS mark. And if you go to high settings, which I'm probably going to show you really quick, you get better visuals, but you know, your FPS is going to be in low 40s. But other than that, this game runs really good. And here's an Easter egg for you guys out there. I'm sure you noticed these creatures, the way they look. And they're definitely copies of Metal Gear Solid. Those of you big fans of Metal Gear Solid, you'll see that a lot of these robot creatures here are kind of based on the creatures in the Metal Gear Solid series games. Where's Pops? Did I lose Pops? I wasn't paying attention. Oh, I went up here probably. That's right. But yeah, the game runs smooth on medium, no problem. Alright, let's wrap it up with the high settings, which will give you the, you know, the better visuals. That's right.
The slower you move, the quieter you'll be. And crouched walking is quieter than upright. Wait for it.
Alright, so that gives you the results here on this game. Let's move on to the next one. And now in Hitman 3 here, getting a bit better performance on medium preset here. 1080p full screen. We looks like we are hitting that 60 FPS. So the performance is quite well for this game, and this game is definitely beautiful, especially this board here. Not bad for a lower end card like this. Now, one thing I'll tell you that I would not recommend buying this GTX 1650 for the $300-400 price point that's going on right now. Definitely not worth it. I wouldn't pay more than $100 on this card used. Just really ridiculous. You know, it performs well. It's a modern card, you know, but for the performance, it's really not worth it. And I'm going to make a separate video for the best budget GPUs out there. Help you guys out so you don't get ripped off in this current market. Oops. Oh no, but that by mistake there. Yeah, really not bad. Very enjoyable. I love this board here. It's beautiful. One of the best looking boards currently around. Really reminds you of Cyberpunk, which will be probably the next game I'm going to show you guys out here. Yeah, look at that. Looks really nice. And even on medium settings, the detail is really good here. You can go up to high settings, but you'll definitely drop below 60. Alright, so that concludes Hitman 3. Let's go on to the next one. And here is Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, don't expect a lot of FPS in this game. I'm going to start off with the lowest preset here. Let's take a look at the graphics settings. 1080p full screen, and on the lowest possible preset. And again, very important to know, I'm not messing around with the resolution scale. It's at 100 resolution. Anything less than 100, the game looks horrible in my opinion. So yeah, this is where we at here. You know, in the 40s, nothing special. It looks still okay, a bit bland on the visuals. But still looks pretty good. Because of this game has so much detail, you could get away on some of the lower settings. I would think that medium settings overall would be best for this setup here. Visual to performance.
Hello? Come in. Come in. Of course I will. Maybe
I remember the first time I was hitting the skip button and I saw all these fragments on the screen. I thought my card was messed up. Oh, ooh, I caught myself there. Very nice. As you can see, it performs quite well. Alright, let's finish this off with medium settings. Okay, there it is. Oh, and that looks a lot sharper right away. So yeah, medium settings will be perfect with this card. Very nice. You know, of course, now we're gonna be in low 40s, mid to upper 30s. The game is still running smooth. Alright, so that concludes this game. As you could see, could still handle a hard running game like this. No problem. Alright, so I'm wrapping up this video with a little multiplayer action, Fortnite. Let's take a look at the settings. Full screen, 1080p, 100% resolution scale, and I'm going to start off with the lowest preset. Motion blur off, VSync off, DirectX 11, and multi-thread rendering on. The rest, everything off here. And definitely gonna crush this game with this setup here. If you want to play competitive, you want to stay on the lowest settings, get that high FPS. But also you could run this game in epic settings, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, and still enjoy the game quite a bit. Very nice. We're averaging about 200 FPS. That is beautiful. Alright, so that's what it looks like on the lowest settings. Let's wrap it up with epic. Here we are on epic. 1080p, full screen. Very nice. And as you could see, we are at that 60 FPS mark, and the game looks a lot better. Nice and sharp. Look at that. Very nice. So yeah, that wraps up my video here. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and check out my other videos. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.